technical product director position. There was several questions done for this position. The first one is to get to know about some examples about the software product that I have successfully done in the past. And in that regard, I would like to talk about my experience in Orange Business Solutions, where we developed a software that used the hardware from one of our clients, that it was a heart defibrillator, where using RF signals we can gather the information in a device that was put next to the patient and next to their bed when they sleep at night or travel with them. And that information was then managed by our software, gathering all the information, pushing it into our data warehouse, and then manipulating all that information in order to create useful information that would be presented to the doctor in almost real time. With that information, all the doctors have to do is open their screen and they will have a photo of all the different clients or patients they have, and which ones are more prone to have issues, which ones are stable. So they could actually, instead of having the patient going regularly, even 12 or more times a year for just a review, this changed completely not only the market but the life of the patients, because now the doctor can proactively let them know, I need to see you in the following weeks, to make some adjustments or to make some maintenance. And with that, reducing the number of times that they have to go to the doctor to 2 or 3 times a year, but also giving them peace of mind, because before they never knew how their device was working, and now they know that the doctor can know this in real time. So this solution, it was, I would say, a predecessor for Internet of Things, and at the same time started the trend for e-health. In that year, when we do it, like a decade ago, we won even some World Communication Award as part of Orange, because it was the first time that there was a project that actually achieved this kind of result. Of course, after that, as everything in technology happens in the latest decade, a lot of other projects came and started using those ideas or new ideas, and now e-health is a common thing all over. Second question was to describe the 3 most disruptive trends in enterprise software technology, and what would be the challenge about it. For me, the trends would be Internet of Things, again, coming from the project that I was involved, and then cognitive systems integrated with this, because it will be not only that the things can actually send information or report given their usage or given their conditions where they are, but also systems that are capable of learning from experience. It's not only gathering information, but also systems that become more and more intelligent to understand the customer, the way that they use the product, how often are they going to be requesting for refills or whatever, and with that, giving information and statistics, and even helping to reduce inventories to the companies that are actually providing them. The second one would be everything on demand and real-time personalization. Yes, we're used to this in the cable TV, but really this goes further than that. It goes software that actually can understand the behavior when you are searching for information or where you are using a product, and taking that information is starting to personalize what is going to be the next steps. They start understanding and learning more and more about you, about what is your process to buy things, what is your likes and dislikes, how many times would you need to actually see information related to a product in order to actually react and buy something, Would you like it to be more stylized or gross or red or blue or be presented in a certain way or the other? And actually the software could actually adapt to make sure that this is brought to you exactly as you like it, exactly when you need it, and then create something that is highly personalized. And then the last one would be the digital transformation section, where it's a big trend in the latest years, where most of the companies, what they are doing is that they are doing a change to actually update their systems and to make sure that all their legacies are updated and competitive, and also make sure that when they are already updated anyway, to make sure that they are have edge technology, because after all this will make them more competitive in the market against the competency, and it's something that is becoming a trend. Many companies are doing digital transformation projects, and I think is one of the big trends for the following years. Challenges, of course, as any change, the bigger the company, and in this case we're talking about Fortune 500s, the harder it is to introduce any change on them. Because in a small company of a few people, you introduce the change, and in a week you have everything functional, and maybe you can even train one-to-one. But when you do this in a big organization where you have thousands of people, and when they are used to use software in a different way, or they haven't been trained, the effort to make any change is major. And that's the biggest challenge that happens when any change happens in the organization. But in this case, a digital transformation that is going to change the way they work, probably the processes that they follow, probably it could even change the organization itself. Of course, is going to clash with a lot of reticence, and it will have to have a lot of support and a lot of knowledge in change management to make sure that everything goes smoothly and delivers the results that is expected. Question 3 is about I'm tasked to develop a technical differentiated product in the code coverage space, and how this will be the product, what is the coverage that has to be used, and how to make it differentiated. Mostly targeting this presentation to someone high level in the organization and not a technical person. For that, I would say, okay, use a high coverage approach. In this case, why and what is the difference between a high and a low is the percentage of tests of code that has been tested. A high ensure that a big or most of the code has been tested. Yes, it takes longer. Yes, the cost is higher, but also ensure that there are not issues or major issues or bugs or something that was not previewed when the product goes to the market. And as you know, any failure once the product is already in the market could affect the company, could affect the image of the company, the credibility of the company, or could even affect the product life cycle. So it's better to expend a little more time and a little more effort to make a high coverage approach to make sure that everything is covered correctly. Some of the criteria to use this: function coverage, to make sure that each function has been tested; statements, to make sure also the statements are covered; branch, when there is conditions, what is all the possible paths that could be actually followed given certain number of conditions; and of course checking each condition itself. From the testing products in the market, for some of the teams that I have lead for products, they have used, at least that I know, Clover, Cobertura, and Jacoco. that are the ones that I have here more common in the market. But the last one is the most useful, or at least that the technical teams that I have worked with has found the most useful. Why? It's open source. It's also easy to use. A difference from Clover, for example, that is is more complicated. Of course, the users rate the product with a higher number of stars because of all these features, and of course allows a difference from the other two, multiple sessions, so you can see what will happen in different conditions at the same time. So I would say that for that is the one that is at least the teams that I have managed, the one they use more often. For question 4 is assuming there is a change for 20 technical enterprise software product managers, and we are trying to make sure that they start standardizing things and creating consistencies in the roadmap. For me, consistency is a very important thing because it allows you to even measure things with the same rule, and also allows you to compare between the different people and the different teams, but also allows you to reuse some things and create synergy to save cost and to make sure that perception of the company as a whole is better in the exterior of the company. Why is that? Because you are trying to create consistencies in different areas. For me, there are two big extremes. One is the software, that is when you standardize the development or the product stages itself. When you standardize the development and the updates and what is the methodology that they use it. So if everybody is going to use Agile, use Agile, or Waterfall, or Excel, or any methodology, but try to use consistency between them so you can actually compare between them. Change management, really important to have a process where we actually document the changes that has been requested or the updates, and what would be the possible benefits, costs, etc. And not only go and do the changes because we thought it was a good idea, but have something that actually track what was specifically the goal to actually make a change, who approved it, when was approved, how long it's going to take, etc., and what is the benefit expected for it. Testing, of course, we talk about some tools for testing, but also making sure that the criteria used for testing is the same. We talked about some of the criteria in the previous point, so making sure that all those points are covered in each and every one of the software products that we have in the company. The status reports, very important, because when there are status reports from different product managers and the company has not reached a consistency, it's very easy to find status that are completely different. Some has a lot of information, some has not information at all, some has different information that doesn't allow you to compare or to know really where they are. So why is this important? Because then it gives you an holistic view of all the products, where they are, what is the stages where they are, is there changes coming, is there issues that has been found, etc. So you can have a view of everything that is happening in the organization, and then you can take decisions as a company instead of having streams that are actually completely separated to each other. And then having also the possibility to have models for reusability, because once you start making consistent the development and making consistent the interface, etc., you make sure that could be that there are models that could be reused between the different products. And with that, we can reduce the time and the cost to actually create those softwares. The product itself, then we have to make sure that the consistency follow a certain brand, or if there are several brands in the company, at least that we follow those lines of brands for the family of products that form that brand, to make sure that also with that we keep the image of the company, and also make sure that the consumer recognize our products as part of the same company. The user interface is really important because it has to have consistency between all the different products. And finally is to be able to have interfaces between the products to make sure that they can actually interact or exchange information between them. For our last point is we assume a task to design a workflow that is going to have the stages of the products, and to make sure that these are standardized between the different products in the organization. What I would recommend is to have, to use the best practice, that is having gates for the moment when you have ideas, when you get into the prototype phase, when you get into the pre-funding, that is testing modularly what is the different functionalities for that product, and you test it separately. And then a post-funding phase, that is when you start testing everything integrated and make sure that all the modules talk to each other and the information flows correctly between the product itself and with other products that could be related with them. And also then you go into the product launch phase, and finally then when you're already in the market, you go into the maintenance and upgrade phases. So with that you follow I would say that a gating that is already recognized as part of the best practices. Many companies follow these gates with these names, or maybe a different changes in the names, but in the end it's the same principle. You test first of all the high level idea, or how would it run, or how would it look like a prototype or a mocking, and then you start creating pieces, you start creating the whole, you start checking the consistency with other things, and finally you market. So I would recommend to follow a methodology that has been tested and everybody is using to market software in general. And with that, making sure that we are actually advancing the life of our products, following gatings that involve all the stakeholders needed to make sure that when we start the next phase, we have already solved all the issues from the previous stage. And with that, make sure that when we actually go to market, everything is ready for that. And that would be the questions that I have. Thank you very much.